Hi there. In a world where nothing is certain, that means anything is possible, right? If you want to fulfill your dreams and desires, you are in the right place. You absolutely can have a life of happiness. Everyone deserves an abundance of love, laughter, success, health, and wealth. I'm Tara Chadzakis, and you're listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. The show that brings you meditation, mindset, and motivation. So start by giving yourself permission to be awesome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome to this episode of Happy, Inspired, Motivated. I've had lots and lots of guests over the past 18 months, and I absolutely love them all. And I really, their well-being, their success is really important to me. So when I interviewed Terry Tucker a year ago, and he had cancer, I scheduled him in immediately for another interview. 12 months later, I said to him, you have to still be here in 12 months because you've got an interview with me and I'm not accepting any excuse for not turning up, which, he laughed at, and it was all really lighthearted. So when this year came around and I saw in my calendar that Terry's interview was penciled in, I messaged him and I was like, are you still here? Are you still going to be on my show? And he was like, yep, I'll be there. And I was just like so excited that he was still here. He's still alive and kicking. And the interview was it was so nice reconnecting with him and learning about what he's been doing and how his health is. And, he said he's started, you'll hear in the interview, but he said he started a clinical trial with 3 other people, and those people have actually passed, which is really sad, but he's still going. And, I feel that it's a lot to do with his mentality and his outlook in life, and he doesn't give up. It's quite easy for us sometimes to just throw the towel in, whether it's business or health or our relationships or anything, and just decide that we're not going to keep going to try and improve it. But, he's living proof that actually with the right mindset and perseverance, you can keep going. And I talked about one of my aunties died just after Christmas. I was really close to my auntie, although I hadn't seen her for a while because she was up in Yorkshire and I'm obviously down in the Isle of Wight. But she passed away, and that was really sad. And actually the day that this episode is being released, which is Friday, I'm actually in Yorkshire for her funeral. And it's, I said in the interview, she did give up because she'd had enough, and she'd been through so much pain and so much heartache and backwards and forwards from the hospital. And it was just too much for her anymore. She was ready to move on, which is really sad for us, but obviously it's great for her. She has her peace now, and she has her energy back, and she'll be sat up there, obviously watching us for a while, and then getting to choose her next adventure, which is really, really exciting for her. So I'm sending her lots and lots of love today as we say goodbye to her, our final goodbyes. But one good thing's come out of it. I was really close to my cousin when I was growing up. We were pretty inseparable, and we've sort of grown apart as we've gotten older, and obviously we don't live in the same town anymore, but we've been talking on the phone a lot more and reconnecting. So that's been a really good thing to come out of this. Even though we're sad, we've had some really good laughs on the phone, and I'm really looking forward to seeing her again. So yeah, life's all about ups and downs, and, you can keep on going no matter what life throws at you. If you're in your business and you're struggling, you're not doing as well as you want to, and everything seems overwhelming, you're not alone. I'm here if you need me for my coaching, my Goddess Activate coaching, because I help clients with their business success and getting them into the right mindset and energy to attract more in their business. But also know that you're not alone in the universe. You're always supported. We're living in a time of pronoia, not paranoia. And the universe and lots of energies out there are supporting you to grow and be successful. Never forget that you are completely loved by not just the people in your family, but it could be acquaintances, it could be people who you've met online, it could be people who you don't even know who are watching you and admiring you. And you're also always loved by the energies in the world that are out there supporting you and helping you. They're here for your success. So whatever you're going through in your business, take a leaf out of Terry's book and don't give up, keep going. I've got his website in my show notes, and he's even in talks to start a membership program, which is going to be really great for helping people. The first statement you see on Terry's website is inspiring people to lead uncommon and extraordinary lives. And that is exactly what we are here to do. So let me introduce Terry to you, who is a cancer survivor at the moment. He's going through therapy at the moment, but he's still here. And I'm so glad that he joined me again for this interview. I can't wait for you to catch up with him. So sending lots of love from me, and also lots of love to Terry as well. How are you?
Hey, Tara, how you doing?
My good, you're still here. Yay!
Still here, still with us.
I'm still excited. Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's good to see you. Good to finally be here with you.
My goodness, it's been 12 months since I spoke to you. And when I spoke to you the last time, you were like, oh, I'm not very well. And I was like, oh my God, you're going to be fine. How have you been this past 12 months?
Better than I started a clinical trial back in October of the previous year. I don't even know what year I'm 2020. And I started it with 2 other people.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, those 2 other people passed away right before the holidays last year. So, so I'm kind of the last man standing. And so I sort of feel an obligation, I guess, to carry on their legacy and see this through as best I can. So, I mean, I still have the tumors, but they have shrunk a little bit. So
that's good.
I guess that's positive.
Yeah. So what else are you doing besides this clinical trial? Are you adding anything else? Do you do anything like holistic as well?
I don't really, I mean, I do certain things like what I eat. I try to stay away from sugar and things like that. I definitely, I have and I just finished it. I have this concoction is what I call it of basically, organic fruits and vegetables. Yeah. I start every day with a glass of warm water. And this is going to sound really kind of disgusting. Warm water, cayenne pepper, and an organic lemon. So I squeeze an organic lemon juice and I drink that before I eat anything, before I have breakfast in the morning and stuff like that. Supposedly supposed to detoxify a lot of the, things in our body that aren't good. And all these chemicals I'm sure they're putting in my body are definitely not good. So try to get some of them out of there.
Yeah, definitely. Whatever works. I mean, yeah. I have heard of people drinking the pepper and lemon before, actually. But yeah, I'm not necessarily for that kind of health reason, more for just like a normal detox.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
So I'm definitely kind of in the middle between, traditional Western medicine and, hey, what else you got out there that, that's kind of weird. And I am very fortunate. I have access to oncology pharmacist. So whenever I want to do something, I always go to her, and it's like, Christina, I want to do, somebody suggested I do vitamin C therapy, high dose vitamin C. And she said, well, let me look into it. And she came back and she said, I would recommend you not do it because from what I've been able to find, it will counteract the medicine that we're giving you. So it's like, why are you going through all this if it's just going to counteract that? And then there was a study that I read about in Portugal of these scientists that had used DHA, which is a fatty fish oil that's supposedly real good for the heart, but they were finding that it was acting like a Trojan horse with cancer cells, that the cancer cells were taking it up thinking, hey, this is good for me, and then were being destroyed. So I went to her with that and I said, hey, I want to take DHA. What do you think about that? Well, let me go look. And came back. She said, don't take it. She said, you are on a blood thinner for a blood clot that I had in my lung back in 2017. And she said, DHA will thin your blood even more. And there's a greater chance that you'll have a bleed or a stroke or something. So don't take that. So, I mean, I can understand the science. I mean, if you give me the science behind it, why you shouldn't do it, okay, I can live with that. But it's just, oh, do this or do that. I'm a little more practical than just do this. Let me research it a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, and I've heard a lot of people mention vitamin C, like you said. That's quite a big one actually. And there's a lady. Oh my God, what's her name? Jane McClelland. Jane McClelland. Just hold on a minute.
Okay, sure.
Just hold on a minute. I've got her book. Yep, it's Jane McClelland, and she tried a lot of different stuff, like you've just said, and it's called How to Starve Cancer. So that's quite a big book that talks about a lot of different stuff. But I've heard so many people say like vegan diet's really good for it, and all sorts of different ways that sort of complement normal Western medicine as well. So
yeah, that's, I mean, I've never been somebody that just sort of, and I've seen this a lot in cancer, where people will they get cancer and they just turn their life over to an oncologist. It's like, you've got initials after your name, so you must know what you're talking about. So here, manage my life. And I'm not, I mean, I don't have those initials after my name. I don't have the schooling and things like that, the experience, but I read a lot and I ask a lot of questions, and I'm sure my oncologist at times is ready to hit me over the head with a 2x4. It's like, shut up, just do what I tell you to do.
No, but it's great if you're finding your own research, and there may be something you go to her with and she says, yeah, let's give that a go. You don't know, do you? No, but you're looking so well. You're looking really, really well.
Thank you. And people always say that. It's like, it's like you see from here up, and that's good. From here down, not so good,
Well, yeah, I don't know about the rest of it, because you were quite sporty before, weren't you? In the last interview that we did, you were talking about your past and your, was it basketball, baseball, football? Basketball. Yeah. So you did a lot of that, and so I guess, well, you're getting older, Terry. That's all I can say.
I am, I look at myself, I'm like, gosh, I'm 61 years old that time, Yeah, but in a lot of ways, even with cancer, I'm a whole lot better off physically than some of these people that I look at that are like, you hear when they come into the doctor's office and they're asked for their date of birth, and I'm like, wow, I mean, you're much younger than I am, and you look terrible. And people just, I think I got cancer, so I don't need to take care of myself. It's sort of an excuse to let yourself go. And I've never been in that, I mean, I can't do much in terms of running and things like that. I mean, I don't have a leg in that, but I can do push-ups on the stairs. I can do some weights. I can do some bands. And, I try to do that as best I can. Yeah.
And it's definitely paying off. Like you say, people can look like 20 years older than you and be younger than you.
Yeah.
Because they just give up, don't they?
Really, and I guess the one thing, our daughter got married in October.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I made a commitment. I was going to walk her down the aisle, not use my wheelchair, but I was actually going to get in my prosthetic leg and use that to walk her down the aisle. And so I spent a lot of time with my physical therapist in between cancer treatments, and he got me. He didn't get me much further, but he got me down the aisle. I mean, I was able to do that and to walk her down, and it was a great day. It was a beautiful day. She looked beautiful. Everything was great. Yeah,
and you were here for that, and you're 61, and you're still here, which is even more magnificent. So what are you doing with your business? How's that going? Are you still working with your motivational check?
I am still working with Motivational Check. I've been approached by several people, and I think I've decided on an individual who they have convinced me to develop a membership program where I would develop content out of my book and my experiences in cancer and use it to help other people. And I mean, initially I was like, that's kind of, I mean, who's going to want to, I mean, you just kind of think, well, why me? I mean, there's obviously better people with more experience, people that have been through a lot more than I have. And
Mm.
you're like, well, why don't they do it? And I mean, it's like, I'm comfortable doing what I'm doing, but it's, I go on podcasts and I talk about not being comfortable, being comfortable, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, then you're dying. So be uncomfortable, do something. And I try to do this every day. I try to do one thing that makes me nervous or scared or uncomfortable or is potentially embarrassing. And I mean, it may be something as simple as I can't stand going to the dentist, but you pick up the phone, you make your 6-month appointment to have your teeth cleaned and things like that. It's just one thing that makes you a little nervous. And so I think I've decided on an individual, excuse me, who I'm going to work with. Yeah. Actually, I have a call with him this afternoon, and we're gonna see where this goes. And it's never been about money. It's never been about popularity or fame or anything like that. It's always been about how can I make a difference, positive difference in people's lives by sharing my story. And if I can do that, if I can reach out to a bigger group of people and do that, then why not? Why not take a chance? I'm not getting any younger, right?
Well, I mean, but you are such an inspiration and you are such a motivation to people. Like I said, you're last year when we spoke, I put it straight in my diary to make sure we spoke again this year, to make sure that you were doing well and you were still going and you were still, loving life and showing up, and you are. And that's huge motivation for so many people who aren't even pushing themselves slightly out of their comfort zone because they feel comfortable.
Yeah, I had a nurse that was interesting a couple months ago, a young woman, she's about 25. She's been a nurse for a while. And when I first met her, she was in training in the unit that I get treated on. She was already a nurse, but it was kind of, here's how we do things on this unit.
Yeah.
And a couple months ago, she was taking care of me just by herself. And she said, Terry, I've got this story I want to tell you, but I'm really uncomfortable. And I'm like, what do you say to that? And it's like, oh, just tell me. And, she said, when I first met you, she said, I was going to get out of nursing. I'd had a very good friend of mine that had died, and I was in a very dark place. I talked to my mom and dad, and I was going to quit nursing, and I was going to go to work for Amazon. And she said, and then I met you, and I see what you go through, all the ugliness and the pain that you go through every day, but you keep coming back and you keep showing up. And, and she said, watching you and listening to you and reading about your story, I knew I was in the right place. And, I always think about if she would have never told me that story, I would have had no idea that my life had a positive impact on her. And by her staying in nursing, how many people, over the course of her nursing career, is she going, to help and to assist? And I think we're all we don't realize how many people are out there who are, I look at Tara, I look at Terry, I look at those people who would trade places with us just like that if they had the opportunity. And we have no idea who those people are. And so I think it's real important. I always kind of keep it in the back of my mind that there was a basketball coach in the 70s that very popular here in the United States. And he had a saying, and it went like this: careful person I want to be, a little person follows me. I dare not go astray for fear they may go the same way. So, it's sort of that we are a little bit responsible for each other. And sometimes we don't even know who we're responsible for.
That's it. You never know who's watching.
Yeah.
And you never know the impact that you're having on someone unless they speak up and tell you about it.
Right. You have no, and people are always watching you. And I see that when I go into I go into this huge infusion center to have my therapy. And there are probably 40 cubicles and 10 private rooms, and they're always filled. There's always just all these people getting, chemotherapy or clinical trial drugs or blood or whatever, to help them. And I look at so many of them, and life has beaten them. You can just tell it in their eyes. Somebody has taken their soul, whether it's cancer or whatever it is, and they're just waiting to die. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna probably die soon too, but I'm at least gonna go down fighting. And I just don't like that look when, you just look in somebody's eyes and they're not there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's a couple of things there. Like, I've heard people say, like, some people die at 45 and they're buried at 80. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And literally, and another one, it's not it's not the amount of years you've got in your life, it's the life you've got in your years. Yeah. And it's so easy just to give up and just be like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I just can't go on anymore. But there's got to be that spark of hope. You have to keep going.
And I think all of us, and yes, that's true. But I think all of us have a breaking point. I mean, all of us get to a point where I just can't do this any longer. And I get that. But, I read an article a couple months ago that was, it was about a study that was done back in the 1950s at Johns Hopkins University here in the United States. And it was a very simple study. This professor took rats and he put rats in a tank of water where the water was over their head. And he wanted to see how long the rats could tread water before they would sink and drown. And
that sounds like
I know, it sounds really gross, but trust me, is
there a happy
ending?
Somewhere
with this. I promise, I'm going somewhere. So these rats, on average, treaded water for about 15 minutes. And just as they were getting ready to sink, he reached in and grabbed them and pulled them out, dried them off, and let them rest for a while. Mm-hmm. And then he put those same rats back in that same tank of water. And the second time around, those rats treaded water for 60 hours. Think about that.
60 hours?
60 hours. First time, 15 minutes. That's all I can do. I'm going to sink and drown. Second time, 60 hours, which said to me two things. Number one, the importance of hope in our lives. We have to believe that, we're working towards something, or that life has the potential to get better for us if we stay on this course. Yeah. And number two, just how much more our physical bodies can handle than we ever think they can. We, like you say, we give up so early in the process when it's like, you've got so much more to give to yourself. Don't quit yet.
Yeah. The universe is there ready to scoop you out of that water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a lot of ways it is. But I mean, it's the old, the Lord helps those who help themselves, so I mean, you've got to keep going. But like I say, I understand that people get to a point, where it's just, I can't, my body's worn out. I'm done. I want to give up. And I get that, but it's, and I was at that point. I mean, after 8 years, I was at that point where, I had my leg amputated, I had these tumors in my lungs. My doctor was like, I'd like to put you on chemotherapy. And I was like, is it going to save my life? And he was like, probably not, but it might buy you some time for another therapy to be developed. And I was like, I don't think I want to do that then. I don't think I want to go through all that ugliness and pain for the same result as if I didn't. But I'll go home and talk to my family. And this is kind of a funny story. I mean, I'll embellish it a little bit, but it really happened this way. I went home and I started talking to my wife and daughter. It's just the three of us. And my daughter's immediately, all right, we need a family meeting. I'm like, family meeting? What? It's not like we got a board here or something like that, So we sat around the kitchen table and we individually talked about what how we felt about me taking chemotherapy. Mm-hmm. And then after we'd done that, my daughter's like, all right, let's take a vote. How many people want dad to take chemotherapy? And my wife and daughter raised their hand. And they're like, wait a minute, am I getting outvoted for something that I don't want to do? And I remember back when I was a policeman, when I was in the police academy, and our defensive tactics instructor used to have us bring a photograph of the people that we love the most to class. And as we were learning to defend ourselves, he wanted us to look at that photograph because he reasoned you will fight harder for the people you love than you will fight for yourself. And so I ended up taking chemotherapy, even though I was like, no, I don't want to do this because I love my family, in all honesty, more than I love myself.
That's powerful, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, just after Christmas, actually, my auntie passed away.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And she'd been through a lot with things with her bloods, and she'd had cancer before and all sorts of stuff. And she'd had liquid on her lungs, and she'd had them drained, and then just, I think it was a couple of days after Christmas, it must have come back. And she was just like, I can't go back in and do it again. I can't go through it all again. And she's stayed home, and, you know, her daughter respected her wishes, and she just passed away at home. She just couldn't take it anymore because of the pain and everything that she would have had to go through and what she's been through so far.
Right.
So yeah, you know, you do get to a point where you're like, enough's enough, but yeah, you're still going. And that's just like, I'm just so happy.
Well, thank you. Well, tell me about you. What's going on with you? How are things in your life?
Yeah, really good. So I'm still doing my coaching.
Good.
Yeah, I have the Goddess Activate program now, which is for female entrepreneurs, getting them to go further, getting out of their comfort zone and past their limiting beliefs, so that they can step into their passion and purpose. Because I'm saying it's so important for people to have guidance with that, because it's so, you know, it's not easy to do it on your own. To be like, oh, I want to do something great, or I want to do something more, but being stuck inside yourself is really difficult. And unless you've got somebody there to help you, yeah, it can be quite overwhelming, and you don't know where to turn sometimes. I mean, your membership, when that's up, is going to be so great for helping people with that, because that's what they need. They need that interjection in their life, for even if it is just accountability and motivation. It could be so much more, but it can mean the world to them.
Yeah, it can. And I'm working on a talk that I've been asked to give, and I'm going to talk about basically 4 words. 2 of them, one is have to, and the other is get to. You know, and I
Yes.
look at life now for me. I mean, and I did this. You know, I mean, when you're in high school, it's like, I have to go to school, and you know, I have to study for this test, and you know, all the and as opposed to, I get to go to school, I get to learn, I get to improve myself. You know, I get to study for this test so that I can have more knowledge, and you know, and be a better, well-rounded individual, and things like that. And I you know, I think a lot of people, you know, they get so bogged down with life that it's like, oh, I have to get up now, or I have to go to work, or I have to, you know, pick the kids up from school, or whatever it ends up being.
Yeah.
And it's just a way of reframing what you currently have. I mean, it's really not that much different.
And it's a huge difference, though, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it does.
It really does. And then I'm trying to see if I want to add this in, and it's 2 additional words, and the words are and but. And you know, having played basketball in college and things like that, and my brother was actually drafted in the National Basketball Association, the professional ranks, and you know, I heard this football coach here in the United States talk about how, you know, if you're good and you want to make it to the next level, but even if it's not sports, even if you want a job, or, you know, you're dating somebody and, you know, they're trying to figure out, do I want to marry this guy, or whatever it ends up being, there's sort of a file or a dossier or whatever you want to call it on you. You know, here's all the things this person's good at. And then that dossier is followed by one of 2 words. The first word is and the second word is but. So, you know, here's your dossier, and, you know, he, you know, is a good person. He, you know, graduated from school. The coach thinks, you know, he's a leader on the team, etc. And then the other word is but, you know, he got caught with drugs, but he had a fight with his teammates, but the coach thinks he's really lazy. I mean, you have to create value for yourself in life. And you never want to give somebody the opportunity to put the word but after your name. You always want it to be and after your name.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah,
so
definitely. Yeah, I was having a conversation yesterday, and we were talking about money. And it's like, here in the UK, you get like benefits, it's called. So it's a help from the government if you have children. And for a lot of people that are working, that money is it's got an attachment of shame to it, because they have this they depend on that money. But like, just reframing, it's like, you know, I have benefits, but I get to have them. I get them, you know, because in some countries they don't even have that.
Right.
You know, you're lucky to be able to have assistants looking after your children or whatever it is, you might not be happy about it, but there are some countries where you can't get that. So
Right.
you're very lucky. You should be grateful for whatever you are given to help you. And it's just a complete reframe, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
And that's, like you say, I mean, it takes people like you to get people to reframe their lives, to see that you can do this. And it's not even that hard. I mean, you just need to look at it a different way and act a different way, and you can have this, and I think it would just make things so difficult, and life overwhelms us so much. And I know certainly here in the United States, we're terrible about this. We start down a road of, I want to try this, I want to do this. And then the least little impediment that gets in our way, we're like, oh, no, can't do that. I got to quit. Can't. Yeah. And then not only do we do that, but then we step back and we're like, okay, who am I going to blame for this? I want to blame my parents or my boss or my station in life. Very few people, especially here in the United States, want to take responsibility for their own success and happiness.
It's the same here. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Blame the economy, blame COVID, blame whatever it is. It didn't work because of something else. It's never an internal acknowledgement. Yeah. And it is, like you said, people have got so much power within them. But I think we quit so easily because of we're used to instant gratification. We're used to things turning up immediately, your Amazon delivery. Right. If you've got to wait for a couple of seconds for your internet to download something, you're furious because you expect it there and then. And success in your business, for example, isn't that quick. It takes work. It takes work, and perseverance, and people aren't always prepared to do that.
Yeah. What's that saying, an overnight success took about 20 years or something like that,
Definitely. So I'm going to put links to your website in the show notes. What about how are people going to find out about this membership? What's happening with that? How's it coming around?
I don't know yet. I mean, literally, we are still
with early stages.
Very early stages. And, I have been a little resistant to even wanting to do it. I mean, I was resistant to writing a book. It was like, I'm not an author. I'm not a writer. What do you mean? But the book happened. And I think this is going to happen too. And as I've told my partner, I'm like, look, I don't want it to be good. And I was like, well, why not? It should be good, but I guess this was a conversation that I had with my publisher who, I told him, I said, when I go on these podcasts, I listen to every single podcast I do once it's released because I want to get better. Did I say too much? Was I going too fast? Whatever it was. And he said, no, Terry, you don't understand. It's not about being good. It's about just not sucking. And I said, no, not for me. It's not for me. It's about, I said, well, I think you gave me the title of my new book, just don't suck. That'll be the next book. But, I was telling my partner, I was like, look, I want this to be great. Yeah. I don't want to do, it's good enough. No, if we're saying it's good enough, it's not good enough yet. We want it to be great. So I'll have it up on my website for sure. And then, we're talking about different marketing outlets and things like that where we can advertise it. And, again, it's defining your market and, all about this. So,
well, it's exciting. And we'll have to stay tuned and have a look when it's up and it's all going. It's going to be amazing. It really is.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be fun just to do it, and learn something new. I didn't know anything about publishing when I wrote a book and I learned about that. So it's just, learning new things is, that's, I think, another thing that keeps us going, not just being satisfied with where we are.
Keeps us young, Terry. Keeps us
really
young.
Does.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a real pleasure. I hope people take inspiration from your journey and your passion and your power and your resilience as well, because you are a phenomenal person. Thank you.
Well, Tara, thank you. It's been great talking to you again. It's been fun. It's always good to kind of come back around and reconnect with people that you like and that you had some good times with. So thank you for having me back on. And who knows? Maybe we'll do it again in another year. Hopefully, I'll still be.
I'll put it in the diary again. Shall I? Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. You take care.
Thank you for listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. I'll be back next week bringing more meditation, mindset, and motivation for your happy and successful life. To find out more about our community, go to tarachatzakis.com/happy, inspired, motivated.